إنما تنذر من اتبع ذكرى وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلك منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشاء نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعما إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون. فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أحد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أزل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مزيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويهك القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحيي الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد سورة المباركة الفاتحة
برائے خوشنودی ہے بی بی فاطمہ زہرا علیہ السلام بلند تر صلوات اللہ
बावाज़े बुलंद नारे सलावत नारे तकबीर नारे रिसालत नारे हैदरी बावाज़े बुलंद नारे सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा चंद मसाइब पेश करने जा रहा हूँ। हाय अब्बास 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 जलते खैमों से सदाई सुए कर वो बला ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس لو خبر جلد کیا بستر سجاد جلا ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس اور تنہا اٹھارہ برادر کی بہن ہے بن میں نیند کیوں آ گئی ہے بھائی بتاؤ رن میں نیند سے جاگو چنی زینب مزتر کی ردا ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس اور میرے غازی میرے صفدر میرے میرے لشکر دیکھ بے آس ہے پردیس میں تیری خواہر کٹ گیا سبت پیمبر کا سجدے میں گلا ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس میرا اکبر میرا قاسم میرا اصغر نہ رہا ارے دو میرے لال تھے دونوں ان میں سے کوئی نہ بچا نہ کوئی بھائی بھتیجا نہ کوئی ہے بیدار ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس اور بھائیوں سے تو بڑی آس بھائیوں سے تو بڑی آس ہوا کرتی ہے ہر بہن بھائی کے حق میں یہ دعا کرتی ہے ارے عمر لگ جائے میری زندہ رہے بھائی میرا ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس صلوات پڑھ دے گا اور ہم کو پانی نہ ملے تیری خوشبو تو رہے تیرے بازو نہ کٹے چاہے مشکی سانچ دے یہ مگر ہو نہ سکا تیرے بازو ہے جدا مجھ پہ ہے تشنا نبی تو نہ آیا غازی جبردہ سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی
اعلام لٹ گئے اہل حرام ریت پر جلتی ہوئی ہو گیا ٹھنڈا حلام پرسہ دینے کے لیے مجھ سے ملنے کے لیے آ گئے بابا علی تو نہایا غازی اور دھوپ میں تھا شجر تجھ سے آباد تھا گھر اے برینا میرا سر کیا نہیں تجھ کو خبر اے علمدار وفا اس بہن کو باخدا تجھ سے ڈھارستی بڑی تو نہایا غازی اور قید خانے میں قضا ہر جب سکینہ کو ملی اور دیکھ کے کرتے کا کفن بچی دفنائی گئی اس گھڑی نام تیرا صورت نادی علی بس میں دہراتی رہی تو نہایا غازی اور کتنی بے باس تھی بہن اے شہنشاہ وفا ارے نام لے لے کے میرا جب یہ ظالم نے کہا ارے ناز تھا جس پہ تجھے اب بلاؤ نا اسے اور میں روتی رہی تو نہایا غازی جب رداس سے چھلی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہایا غازی اور آل عمران نے کہا اور زندان کہا یہ بہن قید ہوئی تو نہایا غازی صلوات پڑھ دیجئے گا آواز بلند سے
برائے خوشنودی امام زمانہ بلند تر صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد
آخری کلام پیش کر رہا ہوں
غربت میں قتل ہو گیا مظلوم بی وطن میں بھائی بھائی کہتی تھی لاشاں بہن بہن میں بھائی بھائی کہتی تھی لاشاں بہن بہن میں بھائی بھائی رکھا ہوا لاشا حسین کا خر ڈوبا لہو میں غرق تھا کرتا حسین کا خر آواز تھی حسین کی بہنا کفن کفن میں بھائی بھائی کہتی تھی لاشاں بہن بہن اور آئی ناراض دو گھڑی پردیس کی فضا کنبا شہید ہو گیا میرا گھر اجڑ گیا خر پردیس دیس غیر تھا نا وطن وطن میں بھائی بھائی کہتی تھی لاشاں بہن بہن ایک دل پہ داغ میں نے 72 اٹھا لیے کچھ داغ میں نے قلب کے اندر چھپا لیے اور چھپتے نہیں چھپانے سے داغ رسن رسن میں بھائی بھائی کہتی تھی لاشاں بہن بہن اور دیکھا ہے بابا میں نے وہ منظر بتاؤں کیا اور نیزوں پہ تھا رکھا ہوا ہر سر شہید کا اور گھوڑوں کے دوڑنے سے تھا ٹکڑے بدن بدن میں بھائی بھائی کہتی تھی لاشاں بہن بہن ان اللہ و ان اللہ راجعون آواز بلند صلوات
نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، برائے خوشنودی امام زمانہ بلند تر صلوات۔
صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد. Mu'mineen, please recite Surah Fatiha for Marhum Anwar Ali Bhai Petharam Ji, Marhum Shitaz Ali Petharam Ji, Marhum Ayaz Petharamji, Marhum Askar Bhai Nathani, Marhum Ghulam Baskar Mali Rajani, Marhuma Rubab Bhai Nathani, Marhuma Nargis Bhai Khalfan, Marhuma Sakina Mahmud Ahmad, Marhum Sayyid Asad Raza, Marhuma Fatma Bhai Hashim, Marhum Muhammad Raza Lakha, Marhum Khushra Fazal, Marhum Muhammad Ali Manji, Marhum Shabir Hamza, Marhum Hamza Ali, Marhum Muhammad Pardhan, Marhuma Amina Bai Manji, Marhuma Amina Bai Padani, Marhuma Khatun Bai Hamza, Marhum Askar Padani, Marhuma Nazma Bai Padani, Marhuma Shirin Bai Somji, Marhuma Shirin Bai Ramji, Marhum Ali Jawad Ladak, Marhum Yusuf Ramji, Marhum Rustam Ramji, Marhum Manzur Ramji, Marhum Marzia Bai Ramji, Marhum Shabir Akbar Ali Juma, Marhum Muhammad Hussain Kara, Marhum Muhammad Ali Nattu, Marhum Akbar Jamal, Marhum Fatma Bai Jamal, Marhum Kazim Nattu, Marhum Sana Fatima Kara, Marhum Zora Sultan Alana, Marhum Hasnain Qasim, Marhum Hassan Ali Somani, Marhum Sugra Bai Somani, Marhum Sher Ali Nasser Pir Okera, Marhumins of the Ahmad Fazal Hashim family, the Badami family, the Karimi family, Juma Lakha family, the Virani family, Marhumins of the Jagani family, Marhumins of the Rahmani family, Marhumins of the Mullah Abdul Rasul Devji family, Marhumins of the Hassan Ali Tharu family, Marhumins of Ghulam Ali Ali Dina family, Marhum Ahmad Qasim family, Marhumins of the Parvani family, Marhumins of the Al-Iraqia family, Marhumins of the Jiraj family, Marhumins of the Dhanji family, and all of the Marhumins. Surat al-Fatiha. Our next program for Bustan in this hall, Byron Hall, is on 3rd of October, which is a Tuesday. It's a grand Jashan, Viladat of our Holy Prophet, peace be upon his progeny, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Also, we will celebrate Eid-e-Zehra. So 3 huge subjects on that day, celebrations, 3 separate cakes, 3 celebrations, and 1 great and good niyaz in honor as well. So we'll start at 8 p.m. with du'as, Dua Tawassul, 8:15 Qasida, 8:30 announcements, 8:35 MOM. Maulana will be on Mimbar, no less than the effervescent and the very sizzling Maulana Abbas Esmail will deliver the 3 celebrations, very specially with the material that he hasn't used before. He's using it for the first time in Bustan-e-Zahra on that day, so make it a point to come here. So without much ado, Mu'minin, today the tea will be served on the side there, and the ladies will have to walk by to have the tea. It's not going to be served inside for you ladies, it's outside. So let's welcome our great and good Maulana with huge Nare Salawat. Nare Salawat.
Nare Takbir, Nare Risalat, Nare Haidari, Husainiyat, 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 Husainiyat,
Zindabad,
Yazidiyat,
Murdabad,
Yazidiyat,
Murdabad,
Yazidiyat,
Murdabad.
Rai Khushnudiyya Imam Zamana Bulandar Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين ما شاء الله ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله نعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض مولانا حجة ابن الحسن أرواحنا له الفداء وعجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللهم صل على محمد ستدفن بضعة مني بخراسان ما زارها مكروب إلا نفس الله عز وجل كربه ولا مذنب إلا غفر الله له ذنوبه. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, tonight we are commemorating the Shahadat of two great personalities. They are brother and sister, Imam Ali ibn Musa Reza and Janab Fatima Masuma Salamullahi alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Inshallah, I'll be giving a history of Janab Masuma, inshallah, tonight. Some of the main points from her blessed life. And then some Faza'il of our master Imam Ali ibn Musa. However, before doing that, both of these personalities, Hazrat Masuma, Imam Reza alayhi salam, they are very closely tied with shifa. Anyone who has any kind of jismani, ruhani, bimari, maraz, these two personalities are very, very closely tied with shifa of mariz, jismani and ruhani, bodily and spiritual. We have a request from mu'mineen tonight for dua-e-shifa with the wasila of Bibi Masuma, with the wasila of Samin al-Hujjaj, Imam Ali ibn Musa Reza. The first one, I've been given the name Murtaza Habib Abdul Rasul Muraj. The second one, I haven't been given the name, but I understand it's one of the family members of one of the mu'mineen present here today. His father is not well. We ask for especially these two, but all mariz, whoever they may be throughout the world, if they are muhibbe Ali and awlad Ali, oh Allah, we ask you, grant them shifa. Mu'mineen, join me in reciting Amma Yujib. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 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 صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Janab Fatima Masuma, the great daughter of 7th Imam, sister of 8th Imam. Her haram is in the holy city of Qum. When you go to Qum, inshallah, may Allah give us tawfiq to go to Qum and to perform the ziyarat of Bibi Masuma. You'll see how much sukoon, tranquility and peace you find in the haram of Bibi Masuma. All of the great ulama of this time, of our time, over the last 100, 150, 200 years, they have received immense spiritual benefit from haram of Bibi Masuma. Aghay Bahajat, I can tell you, I saw myself, I was in Qum in those days, alhamdulillah. He would finish his Fajr namaz, Ayatollah Bahajat, the great Ayatollah Bahajat. He would finish his Fajr namaz, he would leave his masjid on foot, in his old age, with his walking stick. He would leave his masjid on foot, walking through the gullies, crossing the road, every day, daily basis, going into the haram of Bibi Masuma, standing and reciting the ziyarat by heart and doing his du'as and ibadat there next to the zari of Bibi Masuma. Ayatollah Bahjat. In that age, walking alone, basically, without any kind of entourage and this kind of thing, he would do that. This is because the Holy Prophet has foretold, number one, regarding Imam Reza alayhi salam, that he will be buried, the hadith I recited in the beginning, Satudfanu bad'atu minni bi Khurasan. Soon a part of me will be buried in Khurasan. This is the Holy Prophet's words. That's Imam Reza alayhi salam. For Bibi Masuma, we have from Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says, Inna lil jannati thamaniyata abwab. For heaven, there are 8 doorways, there are 8 gates, there are 8 babs towards heaven. Thalathatu minha, 3 of them are from Qum, are going to open from the city of Qum, 3 out of 8. And then he explains, Tuqbadu fiha imra'atum min wuldi. There will be a lady from my progeny who will be buried in Qum. Ismuha Fatima, she will be named Fatima bint Musa, and she will be the daughter of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam. وَتُدْخَلُ بِشَفَاءَتِهَا شِيعَةِ الْجَنَّةِ بِأَجْمَعِهِمْ. My Shias will enter into heaven due to her shafa'at, all of them together. This is one of the key things regarding the ziyarat of Bibi Masuma. That in that ziyarat we actually say, the ziyarat is from whom? Who gave us this ziyarat? None other than Imam Reza alayhi salam himself. He gave us the ziyarat. In this ziyarat, Ajib o Gharib, you will see 8th Imam, Masum Imam, chosen by Allah, Hujjat-e Khuda, Hujjat-e Ilahi. He says to Bibi Masuma, Ya Fatima tushfa'ili fil Jannah. Oh Fatima, my sister, basically. He's saying to his sister, Ya Fatima tushfa'ili fil Jannah. Do my shafa'at for Jannat. That's how much respect and honor he was giving to his sister. He was trying to show how much maqam and position this great lady has. He says in another hadith, Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Someone says to him, Sa'altu Abul Hasan al-Rida, I asked the 8th Imam, Imam Rida, an ziyarati Fatima, about the ziyarat of his sister, Hazrat Fatima Masuma. فَقَالَ مَنْ زَارَهَا فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. Whoever does her ziyarat will be given paradise. Allah will grant that person Jannat. Imam Reza alayhi salam was born in 148 AH. Janabi Masuma was born in 173 AH. The time difference between them was 25 years. Imam Reza alayhi salam was 25 years older than Bibi Masuma. Therefore, he was not just a brother in that sense. He was actually more of a father figure. Why? Because in the history of the 7th Imam, it is such a sad Mazloom history of the 7th Imam. He was taken away from Medina for many, many years. He spent at least 15 years in different prisons. The story is this, that on one occasion, the Abbasid Khalif Harun comes to Medina. He comes to Medina, and he stands in front of Roza of Rasulullah. Now the Abbasids, their claim to fame, the way they used to legitimize themselves was that we are from the family of Rasulullah, which is true. The Abbasids, genealogically, they were from the family of Prophet, but through the uncle of the Prophet. Through the uncle of the Prophet. So when this Khalifa comes, he addresses Rasulullah, he says, Assalamu alaik, peace be upon you, oh my uncle. Oh my uncle, because they are cousins, they are sons of uncles and this and that. So, oh my uncle or oh my cousin. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far says, Assalamu alayka ya Jaddah. Peace be upon you, O grandfather. This completely humiliated the Khalifa. He took a revenge. He said, I don't want this anymore. This person, I don't want it to become famous. That who is he? How is he related to the Prophet? He kind of insulted me. I'm not having this. He's a threat to me. So he then made plans to take Imam Musa al-Kadhim from Medina away, far away into the lands of Iraq. From one prison into the other prison, into the other prison, our Imam endured all kinds of tortures, conditions, horrible treatment. For 15 years this happened. But Imam's light is the light of Allah. Noor-e-Imam is Noor-e Khuda. Noor-e Khuda can never be put out. Even in the prisons, the prison keepers, the jailers, the prison guards would fall in love with the Imam. The Khalifa would ask them, I've told you, be hard on this man, punish him, beat him. They said, Khalifa, how can we beat a man? In the daytime he fasts, in the nighttime he prays, he hardly eats, he hardly sleeps. Whenever we go, he is in sajda. Whenever we go, he is praying namaz. How can we beat him? How can we torture him? You're telling us to beat him and torture him. How can we do this? On one occasion, Imam had become so starved, this Imam Musa Kazim, become so starved and thin. The jailer calls one of his friends and says, come, I want to show you something. This was the cell of Imam Musa Kazim. This was the cell where he was kept. He said, look inside this cell, tell me, what do you see? He says, I don't see anything. There's a white cloth on the floor. I can just see a white cloth spread on the floor. He said, this is not a cloth. This is Imam himself in sajda. This is how small and thin he has become. This is the way he humbles himself in front of his Lord. Imam was kept in this kind of condition for 15 years. I'm telling you, after Imam Hussain alayhi salam, I would say most Mazloom Imam, either 4th Imam or 7th Imam. After Imam Hussain alayhi salam, the most Mazloom, 4th or 7th, in terms of the amount of time they spent in jails and in prisons. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, Imam Reza alayhi salam was more of a father figure to Hazrat Masuma. Her title, Masuma, was given by Imam Reza. After she passed away, her name is actually Fatima, named after Janabi Fatima. Her name was Fatima. Her title has become known more as Masuma. Who gave her this title? Imam Reza alayhi salam. After her death. So this means, Azizan, you have to be careful. Janabi Masuma died first. Then Imam Reza was Shaheed. Sometimes in our marsiyas, in our nohas, I know no one means this in a bad way. I know these are just innocent mistakes. But historically speaking, Janabi Masuma died first. Then Imam Reza alayhi salam died. It's not like Karbala that Imam Hussain died first and then Janabi Zainab was alive. This is the opposite. Sometimes in our nohas and marsiyas, we say that, for example, in the gham of her brother, Bibi Masuma died. No, she actually died first. This title of Masuma was given to her by Imam Reza. Imam Reza alayhi salam doesn't give any titles unless Allah wills it. It is the command of Allah. Each of the titles of the Imams are given by Allah. When the Imams give titles to other people, they are given by Allah. Masuma is the title given by Allah to Bibi Masuma. Now what does this mean? Was she really Masum? Do we have more than 14 Masumin? What do we understand by Ismat? Ulama say this. They say Ismat can be put into two categories. One is Ismat and Ma'sumiyat from sins, Gunah. And the other is being Ma'sum from mistakes like Tarke Awla and this kind of thing. The 14 Masumin had the higher stage of Ismat. From every kind of Tarke Awla or of course Gunah, they were Masum. They never committed any mistake, any lapse, any error, any misjudgment, not at all. In the second category, you find people like Hazrat Abbas, Janabi Zainab, Bibi Masuma, these kinds of personalities. Ulama say that these were also Ma'asum from sin, definitely, but not at that high category of the 14 Masumin. So we believe that people can reach the level of Ismat. It doesn't have to be just the 14 Masumin in terms of the sins committed. We have a very interesting story from these two great ulama. You will have heard of them. Sayyid Razi, Sayyid Murtaza. Two brothers. Sayyid Razi is the one who has compiled Nahjul Balagha. Imagine the sawab he is getting right now. He compiled Nahjul Balagha. Sayyid Murtaza, also a great alim in his time. Both of them are buried outside the haram of Imam Musa Kazim in Kazmain. Today, you can go to their graves. These two brothers, once they were in a place, there was no one to lead prayers. So they said, one of you two lead. So they said, okay, now which one of us will lead? They said, okay, which one of you has done less sins? That person should lead. They looked at each other and they said, we can't even remember if we have ever done a makruh, let alone a haram act. It is possible. It is possible for us to, for people to reach this kind of level. Of course, for most people it's not possible. It doesn't happen, but it is there. The potential is there. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So Hazrat Masuma, Salamullahi alayha, lived without her father for many years. The first thing we see in her great life is that she was extremely knowledgeable. On one occasion, there came a caravan, a group of Shias. They had come to meet the seventh Imam in Medina. When they came to Medina, the seventh Imam was not in town. He had gone somewhere. So they asked for Imam Reza alayhi salam, his famous son. He was also not around. They said, well, we have brought questions. We need answers. We've come from far away. Now, how can we get these answered? They went to the house. Imam Musa Kazim is not there. Imam Ali ibn Musa Reza is not there. Who do they meet? They meet Janab Fatima Masuma. She's still in her childhood. She's still around 6 years old. She says, give me your questions. I will give you the answers. They didn't know. They thought, okay, maybe she will go and ask someone. Maybe she will go and find out from somewhere. Maybe her father will return. After a few days, they went back. She said, here you go. Here are all your answers. They looked at them. Every single question has been answered. Every single question has been explained. They said, okay, we are happy. They left Medina. On the way out of Medina, who do they meet? They meet Imam Musa Kazim. Imam Musa Kazim says, what are you doing here? They said, Mawla, we've come for your ziyarat. We had some questions to give you. You were not there. Now our time is up. Now we have to leave. So he said, then what did you do? They said, Mawla, your daughter, she was there. She said, give me the questions. I will get them answered. She has answered them, Mawla. He said, show me the paper. They showed him the paper. He looked through. He read this answer, this answer, this answer, this answer. He says, you know what? All of these are correct. Then he said something. Fidaha abuha. May her father be sacrificed for her. So she's alima as well. She's extremely knowledgeable as well. Imam Musa Kazim is kept in prison. Imam Musa Kazim is given all that bad treatment. He's kept away from his daughter. He is made shaheed and buried in Kazmain. The imamat comes to our eighth Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa Reza alayhi salatu wassalam. Imam is in Medina for the first few years. Mamun is then the Khalifa. He hears that there is a threat to his power by this Ali ibn Musa Reza. He says, I can't have this. He forces Imam away from Medina to join him. He makes a plan. He says, you go to Medina, you forcibly take Imam, you make it clear that this is not going to happen. You cannot remain in Medina, you must come with us. Forcibly take him, bring him to me. However, do not take him through the towns where the Shias are present. This was mainly 2 towns and other towns as well, but mainly 2 towns. Kufa and Qum. Shia capitals, Shia strongholds. Do not take him through these towns. Otherwise there could be an uprising, there could be a revolution. People could really, get behind him. Mamun plans and Allah plans. Imam wasn't taken through Kufa. He wasn't taken through Qum. He was taken through so-called Sunni territories, non-Shia territories. But what happens? The people hear that Farzande Rasul is coming through our town. The son of the Prophet is coming through our town. They came out in thousands to meet Imam Reza. Allah plans, the Khalifa plans. Imam Reza alayhi salam was met not by thousands of Shias, thousands of Sunnis to meet Imam Reza. The most famous of these meetings was Nishapur. In Nishapur, they say maybe 100,000 or more people had come out to see who is this Ibn Rasulillah, who is this son, grandson of the Holy Prophet. Let us go and see him. They came in their thousands, tens of thousands. They crowded around him. They said to him, O son of the Holy Prophet, we live far away in these lands which are not near Medina. We never got a chance to see the Prophet. We only heard about the Prophet. Tell us a hadith. Tell us something that we can learn. Imam Reza tells them the golden hadith with the golden chain. He said, I, Ali ibn Musa Rida, heard from my father, Imam Musa Kazim Masum, who heard from his father, Imam Jafar Sadiq Masum, who heard from his father, Imam Muhammad Baqir Masum, who heard from his father, Imam Zainul Abidin Masum, who heard from his father, Imam Hussein Masum, who heard from his father, Amirul Mu'mineen Masum, who heard from Rasulullah Masum, who heard from Jibreel Masum, who heard from Allah Azza wa Jal. This is my way of telling you a hadith. I don't need other people to tell me what the Prophet said, then I relate it to you. We are directly telling you what the Prophet said. One after the other heard it from Rasulullah. Mawla, what is this hadith? This hadith is known as the golden chain hadith. Kalimatu la ilaha illallah hisni. The words La ilaha illallah, Allah says, these words are my fortress, my qilla, my safe place. Man qalaha, whoever says this phrase, enters into my fortress. Whoever enters into my fortress is safe from my punishment. In other words, you want to be safe, you want to be in love with Allah, you want Allah to love you, then adopt La ilaha illallah. In your belief, in your speech, in your zikr, in everything around you, adopt La ilaha illallah. They said, thank you, Mawla. He said, wait. This La ilaha illallah has conditions. Wa ana min shurutiha. One of those conditions is my wilayat, my love, my belief, my respect, my authority. Allah's tawheed without the authority of Ahlul Bayt is not complete. Allah's authority, Allah's belief, Allah's tawheed without wilayat of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad is not complete. Imam Reza writes a letter back home. He tells his sister and his other family members, I want you to come and join me. They leave. They have two groups. One is a smaller group in which there is Bibi Masuma herself, and there's a larger group. They say around 12,000 people in that larger group. Big numbers. All of these family members, all of these Sadat, all of these children and offspring of Ahlul Bayt, they leave to join Imam Reza. On the way there, they are attacked by enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Many are killed. Many are wounded. Bibi Masuma had to see the murder and killing of many of her beloved ones. Then we have two riwayat. Let's have a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Then we have two riwayat of what happened next. One is that after seeing the killing and the brutality around her, she became ill. She got affected so badly by what she had seen, she became ill. The other riwayat is that she was poisoned. In that whole chaos, in that environment, in that ambush and in that attack, somehow she was poisoned and she became ill. Whatever the case, her health suffered. She was then taken to the nearby city of Qum, where the Shias were. They said to her, Bibi, this will be an honor for us. Stay in our city, be our guest. We will take care of you. She stayed in Qum for a time, and then sadly her soul departs from this world. The person in Qum who had the land that is today the Haram, imagine how lucky he is. He says to her that I will give my land for your burial. And he honored that. He gave the land for her burial. Now, she's a lady. These are men. How do they bury her? The burial is arranged, but now how do they bury her? With the hukam of Allah, two people appear. Both of them with hidden faces. They come, they ride out of nowhere. They arrive at the funeral. They get down from their horses. They do the burial. They do the talqeen. They do everything. Who were these two people? Ulama say this must have been Imam Reza alayhi salam and Imam Muhammad Taqi alayhi salatu was salam. Allahumma salli ala Bibi Masuma, she lived a very short time in Qum. She was buried in Qum, but today her legacy continues. Ask the ulama who have stayed in Qum, ask the ulama who have graduated from Qum, they'll tell you we could have not have done anything if it was not from the barakat of this great lady. Our du'as, our ilm, our irfan, our hikmat, our wisdom, our teachings, our learning, all has been derived through the barakat of this great personality, Janab-e Masuma-e Qum. This is one personality of this evening. So inshallah, brothers, sisters, we make a niyat. Oh Allah, on this night when we are remembering this great personality, oh Allah, we pray to you, grant us the ziyarat of Bibi Masuma of Qum. Second personality of the evening, none other than Saminul Hujjaj, Imam-e-Zamin, Imam Ali ibn Musa Reza alayhi salatu was salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Imam, where do we begin with this Imam? How many kamalat, how many amazing things do we know about this Imam? His ziyarat is a very special ziyarat. Now that I've begun on the topic of ziyarat, let me finish it with the ziyarat of Imam. His ziyarat is a very special ziyarat. Someone comes to Imam Muhammad Taqi, the son of Imam Reza. He asks him a question. He says, Mawla, tell me, is the ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala more superior, or the ziyarat of your father in Khurasan? Should I go to Karbala? Imam Hussein, so many hadith, so many fazilat, so much sawab regarding the ziyarat of Imam Hussein. Or should I go to Khurasan and perform the ziyarat of your father? Imam Jawad says, the ziyarat of my father is superior to the ziyarat of Imam Hussein. Why? Imam gives the reason. He says, because the ziyarat of Imam Hussein, absolutely it is in its place. It is absolutely brilliant, important, everything. But everyone respects Aba Abdullah. Even if you are Sunni, you will respect Aba Abdullah. Even if you are Wahhabi, you might respect Aba Abdullah as the grandson of Prophet, if nothing else. Everyone will give a respect to Aba Abdullah. Everyone. Even a non-Muslim will say, oh, he's the grandson of the Prophet of Islam, we should respect him. They can come for the ziyarat. But my father, only the special Shias and the Mu'mineen will do the ziyarat of my father. Why? Mu'mineen, I think I've said it before. If you reach 8th Imam, you will reach 12th Imam. We have no more splits amongst the Shias after 8th Imam. All the splits happened, 5th Imam, 6th Imam, 7th Imam. When you reach 8th Imam, there are no more splits. If you are Hasht Imami, you will become Dawazda Imami. If you are 8 Imam follower, you will be a 12 Imam follower. Imam Muhammad Taqi says, only the special ones come for the ziyarat of my father. Imam Reza's ziyarat is so much full of barakat, is so much full of miracles. And as I said in the beginning, it is closely related to shifa. Those of you, those of us who are not well, those of us who have family members who are not well, pray tonight with the wasila of Imam Reza. I'm going to share something with you. One man was in the haram of Mashhad. He saw another man doing wudu completely wrongly. He said, let me go and tell this brother that you're doing wrong. This is not right. You don't do wudu like this. He says to him, this wudu is wrong. He replied in English. This is an Iranian. That man was speaking English. He said, I didn't understand what he said. I don't know English. So I found someone from the haram. I said, I need an interpreter. They found someone to help. Now this person begins to translate. So I said to him, you're doing wuzu wrong. He says, I'm not here to do wuzu actually. All I know is that I'm here to visit this great man, and all I've been told is I have to wash myself before going to him. I'm trying to wash myself, but I don't know your way of wuzu. They said, so are you Muslim? He said, no, I'm a Christian. I'm from America. They said, how is a Christian from America here trying to wash himself for the ziyarat of Imam Reza? He says, let me tell you my story. He says, one day, so he says, I'm a pilot. He's a pilot by profession. He says, one day I'm in my work. I have a colleague. He's Muslim. One day at work, he sees me very upset. He says to me, what's up? What's happening? Why you look so upset? I told him the news. I said, look, my wife has just been diagnosed with a brain tumor. My wife has just been diagnosed with a brain tumor. Doctor said she has 6 months to live. Doctor told me, we can't do anything more for her. Just give her the best 6 months you can give her. She has 6 months. I don't know what to do. This person was actually a Shia that he was telling. His name was Imad. He says, when I told my friend told me, you know what, don't worry. I know a way of helping you. He said, listen, Imad, however nice you are, however good you are, the doctors have given me my answer. My wife is not going to recover. Imad says, leave it with me. Let me see what I can do. Imad goes into the office. He's looking through papers. He's looking through files. Then he calls me after a while. He says, come. I go inside the office. Imad says, look, I've seen your schedule of flights. You're flying here, there. I have an idea. Let me change your schedule. Would you mind? I want to change it. I want to give you these few flights. One of them is this flight. And he showed me the flight. He said, this flight will take you into Iran's airspace. You will fly over a city called Mashhad. I said, okay. He said, when you fly over this city, look down. If you can. If it's not cloudy, if you're close enough, look down. You'll see in the middle of this city, this glowing light. This is what we call the haram. Inside that haram is buried our Imam, Imam Reza. When you are over that city, what we believe is that there is a noor from the haram of Imam Reza which reaches the heavens of Allah. We believe this. When you are over that city, pray to Imam Reza. Tell him, oh Ali ibn Musa Reza, my wife is ill. Help me. I need your help. And see what happens. He said, this is what he told me. After a few weeks, I did this. I flew my plane. I passed over the city of Mashhad. I looked down. I saw this kind of haram, dome, shrine, mosque. I said what he told me to say. I said, oh Ali Reza, help me, help my wife. We need your help. Grant us something. I didn't know anything about this man. I just followed my friend's instructions. I landed. I settled myself in my hotel. I called my wife to ask how she was. The first thing I see when I call her is that she's crying. I said, why are you crying? She says, tell me, who is Ali ibn Musa Rida? She says, tell me, who is this person, Ali ibn Musa Rida? I said, I couldn't even understand what she was saying. I said, what are you saying? She said, I just saw something. I said, what did you see? She said, I was in my home, in our home. I was lying down, I was resting. A man walked in. He said to me, stand up. I said, I cannot stand, I am not well. He said, I am telling you, stand up. I said, I can't. Allow me to lie down. I feel better when I lie down. I get rested. He said, I am telling you to stand up. I said, but who are you? He said, my name is Ali ibn Musa Rida. My name is Ali ibn Musa Rida. A couple of hours ago, your husband flew over my city and he spoke to me and he told me about your condition. I'm here to tell you three things. Number one, I am here to tell you that you are now cured. Number two, tell your husband to give my salams to my Shia Imad. Tell him to give my salams to Imad. Number three, tell Imad, however many maris and ill people there are, send them all to me. I'm ready to receive them. This is Imam Reza. This is Saminul Hujaj. This is Zamin Ahu. This is Imam Zamin. This is Gharibul Ghuraba. May Allah give us the ziyarat of Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida, inshallah. Azizan, Imam Reza was becoming too much of a threat for Ma'mun. Ma'mun decides that I cannot have this man becoming so famous and powerful. Ma'mun decides to make him shaheed. Imam Reza is called to the house of Ma'mun. Imam Reza leaves his home. He tells his companion Abbas Salt. He says, Ya Abbas Salt, I'm going, if you see me return and I have covered my head and my face, then know that these are my last moments. Imam Reza goes. Ma'mun administers the poison. Imam Reza, after receiving the poison, stands up. Ma'mun says, where are you going? He says, I'm going to that place which you are sending me. He feels a weakness and a coldness in his body. Imam Reza's body is now affected by the poison. He puts his abba over his face and over his head. As he is returning home, Abbas Salt sees him and says, my Mawla said that these may be his last moments. He says, Mawla, what can I do for you? Imam Reza says, Abbas Salt, help me. Take me to my room. Lay me down. Allow me to rest. Abbas Salt puts him on his bed. Imam says, no, Abbas Salt, don't put me on my bed. Put me on the floor. He says, Mawla, how can I put you on the floor? He says, Abbas Salt, let me feel something of what my grandfather felt in Karbala. Put me on the floor. Abbas Salt puts him on the floor. Imam says, Abbas Salt, you can leave me now. I will now do the zikr of Allah. As long as you hear the zikr, don't come in. When you hear that the zikr has stopped, then you can come in. Abbas Salt said, I left my master. I stood outside the door. I closed the door. All I could hear was the zikr of Allah from Imam Reza. After a while, the zikr stopped. I got worried. I went back in the room. I saw my Mawla was there on the floor. Next to him was a young boy next to his head. I said, how did you enter? I have been standing here. No one has entered, but how did you come in? He says, I am that young son of Imam that he prophesied about. He told you about me that I will be the next Imam after him. Imam Reza alayhi salam had his son. Bibi Masuma had her brother and her nephew. Imam Reza has Imam Muhammad Taqi. Imam Muhammad Taqi is there to bury his father, to give ghusl to his father, to give kafan to his father, to do the dafan for his father. Ya Aba Abdullah, who was there for you, Mawla, on the day of Ashura? Hiya Ghareebul Ghuraba, in the furthest place away from Medina, receives his son to give him his burial. Imam Sajjad was there in Karbala. He was not allowed to give the burial to Aba Abdullah. When Imam walks past the body of Imam Hussein on the 11th of Muharram, when he walks past the body of Aba Abdullah, when Bibi Zainab walks past the body of Aba Abdullah, do you know what they said, Azadaran of Imam Hussein? They fell at the body. Janab Zainab had to say this. She says, A'anta akhi, A'anta al-Hussein. Is this really my brother? Is this really you, Hussein? They have trampled you. They have taken away your clothes. They have cut your veins. They have cut the fingers from your hand. They have taken everything from you. Allah la'natullahi al-qawmi al-zalimin. Wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalibin yanqalibun. Matame Hussein.
صفن علی ماتم کے لیے یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین سب مل کے پڑھیں یا حسین یا حسین یا یا غریب الغرباء یا معین الضعفاء یا غریب الغرباء مولا امام رضا سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا سلام اللہ علی مولا رضا یا غریب الغرباء یا معین الضعفاء یا غریب الغرباء یا معین الضعفاء یا غریب الغرباء مولا امام رضا سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا میرے مولا میرے معصوم غریب الغرباء میرے ہادی میرے مظلوم معین الضعفاء وہ سلام آپ پہ سرکار میرے مولا رضا مولا مل جائے رضا آپ کی راضی ہو خدا مولا مل جائے رضا آپ کی راضی ہو خدا سید و آقا یا امام رضا سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا سلام اللہ علی مولا امام مل کے سلام اللہ علی مولا آپ جیسا نہ ہوا کوئی غریب الغرباء آپ کے شہر مدینہ میں بھی رہنے نہ دیا قبر زہرا کی پیمبر کا بھی روضہ چھوٹا آپ کو آپ کے بابا کی طرح قید کیا آپ کو آپ کے بابا کی طرح قید کیا چھٹ گیا کنبا یا امام رضا سلام اللہ مل کے میرا سب پڑھیے سلام اللہ علی ماشاءاللہ مل کے سلام اللہ علی زہر انگور میں ظالم نے ملایا ہے قبر میں فاطمہ زہرا کو رلایا ہے بے خطا شمع امامت کو بجھایا ہے ایک مظلوم کو سید کو ستایا ہائے ہائے، ایک مظلوم کو سید کو ستایا ہائے ہائے، آسماں رویا یا امام رضا، سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا، سلام مل کے پڑھیے، سلام اللہ علی رضا، سلام اللہ علی مومنوں، اٹھتا ہے تابوت رضا کا آؤ، دیں گی رو رو کے دعائیں تمہیں زہرا، آؤ آؤ سب مل کے کریں ماتم مولا، آؤ آؤ ایک بہن کو دے بھائی کا پرسا، آؤ آؤ ایک بہن کو دے بھائی کا پرسا، آؤ لیجیے پرسا یا امام رضا، سلام اللہ علی مولا، مل کے سب پڑھیے، سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا، سلام اللہ ماشاءاللہ، سلام اللہ رضا، جس گھڑی چاند محرم کا نظر آتا تھا، کربلا والوں کا غم آپ کو تڑپاتا تھا، اور ماتم سے گھریں بان پھٹا جاتا تھا، آہ کرتے تھے تو یہ عرش بھی تھراتا تھا، آہ کرتے تھے تو یہ عرش بھی تھراتا تھا، روتا تھا کعبہ یا امام رضا، سلام اللہ علی، مل کے ماشاءاللہ، سلام اللہ علی، مل کے سلام اللہ علی مولا رضا، پہنچے ایران میں معصومہ کم کے جو قدم، دیکھا ہر بام پہ لہراتا ہے کالا پرچم، غم میں بھائی کے ہے ڈوبا ہوا سارا عالم، ہائے مظلوم کا بے کس کا ہے گھر گھر ماتم، ہائے مظلوم کا بے کس کا ہے گھر گھر ماتم، خوش ہوئی بہنا یا امام رضا، سلام اللہ، مل کے بلند آواز میں، سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا، سلام اللہ علی رضا، آپ کے نام کے سکے کا ہے ضامن مولا، میرے بازو پہ بندھا رہتا ہے جو رات اور دن، اس کی برکت سے ہوئے کام ہے سارے ممکن، مولا محفوظ ہے اس سے میرا ظاہر باطن، مولا محفوظ ہے اس سے میرا ظاہر باطن، دل بر زہرا یا امام رضا، سلام اللہ علی، ماشاءاللہ مل کے رضا، سلام اللہ علی مولا رضا، سلام اللہ علی مولا رضا، سلام اللہ علی رضا، میرے مولا میرے معصوم غریب الغربا، میرے ہادی میرے مظلوم معین الضعفاء، ہو سلام آپ پہ سرکار میرے مولا رضا، مولا مل جائے رضا آپ کی راضی ہو خدا، مولا مل جائے رضا آپ کی راضی ہو خدا، سید و آقا یا امام رضا، مل کے سلام اللہ علی مولا امام رضا، سلام مل کے سب پڑھیے، رضا، سلام اللہ علی مولا رضا، سلام اللہ علی رضا، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، یا سب پڑھیے، یا حسین وہ عابد بیمار تھا، وہ عابد بیمار تھا، چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا، چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا، اور شام کا بازار تھا، اور شام کا بازار تھا، اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، بربی خدا ختم انبیاء محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، 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 أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. الفاتحة شفاء المرضات ودفع بلاء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا نور الله، السلام عليك يا ثالث شروط لا إله إلا الله، السلطان أبا الحسن يا علي ابن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك، ورزقنا في الدنيا زيارتك وفي الآخرة شفاعتك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل.
اللهم كن وليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آله في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا وذليلا حتى تسلو أرضك طوعا وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.